space. And then Bob comes along. Again, and let's see, so I want to recap what we did yesterday. So yesterday we did a very simple experiment. We had Alice at rest in still air, and we had Bob moving past her like this. And remember, as soon as Bob moves past her, she starts her watch going, she waits for a certain time T, she claps her hands, the sound signal goes chasing after Bob, and it reaches Bob, and then Bob claps his hands, sends the sound signal back to Alice. And we came up with this picture here. So here is Alice. Alice is at rest with respect to the air. Okay, and so her world line is just vertical like that. Okay, and remember we're calling the speed of sound C times time for Alice. And what's Bob doing? Well, Bob is drifting across her frame as time goes on. So his world line, he crosses her path over here, and his world line goes up like this. So this is Bob's time axis. His clock is ticking, tick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on his clock. Okay, as he's floating across her space. And just as a reference here, 45 degrees. What's at 45 degrees? So if Alice were to clap her hands at the same time that Bob passed her location, then this sound wave would travel faster than Bob and go further than him in a given time. Okay, so this is a sound wave. So this is 45 degrees. And here's C is the speed of sound. Okay, so we got that. And then as soon as Bob crosses her path, she starts her stopwatch and she waits a certain time, capital C, on her clock, and then she emits a sound wave. She claps her hands. So because we're plotting C times D, we put CT here. Okay, and then that sound signal goes out at 45 degrees, like this. It catches up with Bob, and he claps his hands, and he sends the sound signal back like that. And the important thing here is that this is 45 degrees, obviously because Alice is at rest with respect to the air, and any sound that she emits, she's going to observe it to be moving at the speed of sound. But this one here is also at 45 degrees. This is the important one. This is also at 45 degrees, even though Bob is a moving source. Bob is drifting with respect to the air. He claps his hands, but as soon as he claps his hands, he sets up a disturbance in the still air, and then that sound radiates outwards with respect to the still air. And so it moves through the still air at a speed C back to Alice, who is at rest with respect to the still air. And so she sees that sound wave coming at her with the speed C. So it's also 45 degrees, and that's crucial here. So, all right, so we got that. And also we put a couple other things in the picture. We labeled the Bob's velocity, E. He's drifting with the speed V to the right. And we suppose that at the instant Bob receives the sound signal, he hears Alice's clap. We suppose that he has traveled that distance D in Alice's space. So he started at Alice's location, and he drifts, When he hears the clap, he's a distance D away from Alice. Okay, and then the beautiful thing about plotting CT versus S is that T versus X, these are 45s. And so if that's D, then what's that? D, and that's also D. It's not sure what this is. CT. It's not right there. Okay, so that's our picture there. And from that picture, what we did is, let me just, there were subliminal sorry. Okay, so Bob is moving at subsonic speed, so slower than the speed of sound. Okay, so that's that. And the most important thing on this picture is this time here. Okay, so we're wondering how much time have elapsed for Bob. Okay, so what we do know is that time must be proportional to CT. So we talked about that as well. So if this, so we said it was K times CT. That's the number of tick marks on here representing the ticking of Bob's clock. And the reason for that is remember if we double it, or to double this time, say make it this big, then we would also double this time. Okay, so whatever this time is, that's our unknown. It must be just proportional to that time over there. Okay, so that diagram there, that makes no assumptions whatsoever. Okay, it's super basic physics. It's just Alice at rest in air, Bob drifting through, and everything. Very, very simple physics. Okay, so and then what we did is we said, okay, well let's try to figure out what this K is, because that's the really important thing. If we know what that K is, then we know how much time elapses for Bob, when it's time elapses for Alice. One way to determine K is to simply assume. Simply assume that when 1 second elapses for Alice, 1 second elapses for Bob, and 1 second elapses for everyone in the universe. There's such a thing as absolute or universal time. So 1 second elapses for one person, 1 second elapses for anyone, regardless of their state of motion. In which case we just said, oh, well that means that this times here, D plus CT must equal that, so KCT, and then we solve for K. And then we found that, in fact, K is just the ordinary Dopplership for sound in air. Okay? And what we're going to do now is we're going to drop that assumption about universal time and find a different way of calculating K, a more natural way of calculating K. And we'll find that K is not what we got before, something different. And it tells us that the amount of time elapsed for Bob from here to here is not the same as the amount of time elapsed for Alice from here to here. Universal time does not exist. Okay? And time is different for everybody. Everybody has their own sense of time. Okay, so that's the goal here. Okay, so to reach that goal, what we're going to do is we're going to take this picture here, which works for sound in air, and we're going to imagine that instead of Alice and Bob exchanging sound signals in air at rest, we're going to imagine that they're exchanging light signals. Okay, so the speed of sound is going to become the speed of light, and subsonic is going to become subliminal and all that stuff. So we're just replacing sound with light. Okay, so the first step here is just so that we have a concrete picture of what's going on, and to make the picture as close as possible to what we had for sound. What we're going to do is we're going to imagine that light is a wave in ether. How many of you know about the concept of ether? Heard about the concept of it? How many of you not heard ether before? The word ether. Okay, so about a third of you. Okay, so it turns out that in the early 1800s, there were experiments done which showed that light is a wave phenomenon. Okay, and so it exhibits wave properties like refraction, interference, that kind of stuff. So everyone thought, yeah, okay, light is a wave. Great, fantastic. Okay, so then they looked at other waves. They looked at water waves, and they know what is a water wave. A water wave is a disturbance of some medium. Okay, so the water molecules, when you splash in the water molecules are going up and down like this. Okay, so there's something waving. In the case of water waves, it's the water molecules that are waving. Okay, they also knew that sound is just vibrations of some other medium, air. Okay, so when you talk and sound comes out, it just means that air molecules are vibrating up and down. Okay, so the air molecules are waving back and forth. So then they thought, well, okay, light is a wave. So what's waving? Okay, and they thought, what's waving? Well, I don't know. Can't really see anything waving. And so they invented this medium called the ether. And they imagined that the ether is this sort of elastic medium, like air or like water, that pervades all of the universe, fills all of space. And that light is just a wave in this ether. So when I click on a flashlight, what it does is, imagine this ether as like jelly. Okay, full of jelly filling the whole universe. If I jiggle the jelly over here, then it will jiggle the neighboring jelly, which will jiggle the neighboring jelly, and so on, like dominoes to get a wave going out. So they imagine that light is a waving of this sort of elastic medium they call the ether. Okay, so let's go with that model of light. Okay, because that model of light was actually what was used for all of the 1800s until the beginning of the 1900s. Okay, so let's suppose that light is a wave in ether for a moment. I'll put a question mark there, okay, because it actually will show that it's not that. But, so light is a wave in ether, and that's exactly analogous to sound being a wave in air. Okay, so what we're doing is we're going to take this picture here, and in the backdrop of this picture, we have in mind still air. So now in the backdrop of this picture, we're going to have in mind ether. Okay, and Alice does rest with respect to this mysterious medium called the ether. And she is, instead of clapping her hands and sending a sound signal, she's sending light signals. The point is that this situation here, light as a wave in ether, is completely analogous, 100% the same as sound as a wave in air. So we can take this diagram and use exactly the same picture, for an experiment in which Bob is drifting through her frame, Alice waits on T, clicks on her laser, and sends that laser light over here, and Bob has a mirror which reflects that laser light back. And the important thing is, when he reflects it back, the speed of light is independent of the motion of the source. So in this case, Bob is drifting through that mysterious ether medium. But when he clicks on his flashlight or laser or sends it back to the mirror, that light travels with respect to still ether with the speed c, which is now the speed of light. And so Alice will measure that speed to be c, independent of the motion of Bob, independent of how fast he's moving under a layer toward her. So this becomes c becomes the speed of light, and this becomes Bob is moving. That's not a quite subliminal. And something moving superluminal would be like that, faster than the speed of light. Okay, so that's our picture, which is carried over in its entirety without any change. Okay, so Einstein, let's now switch to talk a little bit about Einstein and the theory of special relativity. So Einstein based his theory of special relativity on two principles. And one of those principles has to do with the speed of light. Can anyone tell me what that principle states? Yeah.
Say that the speed of light is the same as the speed of light.
So that's the general consensus of what I said, is that somehow the speed of light is the universal constant, the same for everybody, the same in any reference frame, the same blah, blah, blah. That's actually not what Einstein said. Okay, so this is a very important point that I want to make here. What Einstein actually said was this. Okay, so there are two principles, principle 1 and 2. We'll start with principle 2, which is the speed of light principle. Okay, so understanding this principle properly will really help you to understand the logic of special relativity, why it makes sense, why it's totally believable, why it's the most natural thing you can imagine, or the most natural way the universe could be. Okay, so let me actually read what Einstein said. And before I read it, I have to, before I read the principle, I need to read what he said a little bit earlier to define some terminology. And so this is from his 1905 paper on special relativity. He says, well, let us take a system of coordinates in which the equations of Newtonian mechanics hold good. In order to render our presentation more precise and to distinguish this system of coordinates verbally from others, which will be introduced hereafter, we call it the stationary system. Okay, so what he's introducing is a reference frame, a coordinate system. Okay, so Alice is some state of motion. Okay, and such that the laws of Newtonian mechanics hold good, which means F equals ma and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so and when you throw something like this, and there's no forces acting on it, it moves in a straight line, all that kind of stuff. So he's saying, suppose there exists such a frame. Okay, we will call, and then we're going to do all kinds of stuff with that frame, but suppose there exists such a frame, let's call that frame the stationary frame. And then he states his principle, the principle of the constancy of the velocity of light, which reads, any ray of light moves in the stationary system of coordinates with the determined velocity c, whether the ray be emitted by a stationary or by a moving body. Okay, so let me just paraphrase that. So combining what I just said, I'm going to write it this way, and we'll talk about it. source. Okay, so that's what Einstein said. So let's have a look at this. So first of all, at rest, for an observer at rest, well, we know that there's no such thing as absolute rest. That's one of the ideas that we can anticipate what's coming. We know there's no such thing as absolute rest. There's no such thing as absolute space. All that. That's what we're going to get to. Okay, so when we say observer at rest, we put in quotation marks indicating that really what we need is what Einstein is saying here. There exists at least one frame of reference in which it is true that Newtonian mechanics holds good. Okay, so I throw an object and there's no forces acting on it, it will move in a straight line. There exists at least one frame in which that's the case. So this is the frame that Einstein calls the stationary frame. Okay, so I'll just say this thing. So there exists. So there exists at least one frame in which this is true, in which the speed of light is c independent of the motion of the source. Okay, so at the time, this is 1905, people had in mind that most physicists thought that light is a wave in ether. Okay, so is this principle true for if light is a wave in ether? Why? It's exactly the same as the sound waves in still air. Okay, so sound waves moving around still air. If you're at rest with respect to air, it doesn't matter how the source is moving around. If there's an answer coming toward you or moving away from you, the speed of sound will be the same. You will be